Good morning, Bix Weir, roadtoroota.com with your morning Bix Talks. New name again. Bix Talks, kind of like TED Talks, but not really. I am changing it to Bix Talks, and then I'm not going to change it anymore. I'm tired of messing with the marketing department at roadtoroota.com. A few things I want to say, though. First sip. My morning horn of Z's. If you don't know what that means, go to the past interviews and you'll figure it out. A couple things. I posted a video last night. Ted Butler, our good friend in silver, has asked everybody who's interested in silver, who has bought silver, who is holding silver, to send a letter to the two new CFTC employees. One guy's in charge of the enforcement division, which has been there all the time, and you wouldn't think that the CFTC has an enforcement division because they rarely enforce anything. But the other guy is in charge of market intelligence. It's a new division within the CFTC. A lot of people telling me, this is just more of the same. These guys are from the banksters and they know all about derivatives. Yes, they do. Of course, they know all about derivatives. That's what the COMEX is. So you do need a professional derivative trader in that position. They usually make a lot more money than they would at the CFTC. Do I have hope? Sure, there's always hope. There's always hope that the CFTC will do what... See, here's the problem. I say do what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to control the markets. They're not supposed to regulate the markets. But there's a couple things I want to say. One, if we don't try, we're not going to get anything done. So yes, please copy and paste the letter. Go to the Road to Roota website right at the top. You can download the Ted Butler letter and send it as is, just as Ted wrote it. Don't confuse it with gold manipulation or any other ideas that you have. This is very specific to the reporting by the CFTC of the huge, gigantic short position held by just 4 traders. Just send the letter as is and send it to the email addresses and mail it off if you can. And that's very important. Not because I think anything's going to happen because of it, but we're putting these new guys on notice that we are watching them. And every time they do something illegal, we will get back to them at some point in time. So that gets to the question of, is this latest silver move real? Is it fake? Will they do the same thing? The commercial net short position is the highest ever, and it is a make it, break it time once again. Will these guys allow silver to be slammed down? Remember, if you follow the Road to Roota long enough, don't look at price, because they can set the price at $0 an ounce with a click of a mouse. Or they can set the price at $1 million an ounce with a click of a mouse. And that's how easy it is to rig the artificial prices on the COMEX and the LBMA. So if you're worried that the price is going to go up and down, don't be. The only thing you can do is take your physical silver, stick it in your pocket, walk home, and then watch the action, because it'll give you a heart attack if you're hoping that silver goes up. You buy it at $18 an ounce and they drop it down to below $10 an ounce. It is possible. They can also bring it up to $1 million an ounce. That is possible as well. If they drop it down below $5 an ounce, they'll probably just shut down the market at that point, so nobody can buy on the way up. And that they can do that. They make the rules on the COMEX. It's their game, not your game. And that's the only place really that the price of silver is determined, other than the LBMA, which we all know how criminal that place is. At the end of the day, these things have to end. But remember also, Steve Mnuchin has yet to make his mark. The Treasury Secretary has yet to show the world what he could do with computers. Because remember, that was his job at Goldman Sachs. He was the head of IT, the head of computer rigging. So yes, he's going to make his mark. I don't know what that mark will be. I would pretty much guarantee it will be a downside slam to silver, gold, an upside rocket for the stock market and things they want you to be invested in, and to attack the things they don't want you to be invested in. But complaining to the CFTC puts them on notice and puts these new guys on notice. And we don't know what's going to happen until the CFTC actually shut down and there is no pricing. That's when silver will start to to realize its true fair market value at some point when they start the markets up again. And I think we're headed towards that point very fast. The whole Trump reversal on all his old things is a clear sign to me that the end game is in process. And the end game is continuing to run all the rigs that were from before, but showing the world that that doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore, and the system will be destroyed to get rid of all the fake money and all the bad guys' power. Many videos on that. Go back in time and check out road2roota.com. Check out road2roota.com anyway. The private road members, get your questions in to me for tomorrow's Q&A. I've done half of them. They're great questions. We're going to have a lot of fun on the Friday road trip because there's some really smart people out there and they ask great questions. So I've been working on that all week. If you have a question and you're a private road member, the code for the question is right at the top of the private road section at road2roota.com. You can also join by clicking on the subscriber link, and we'll go from there. It's going to be exciting, but let's get through the news. Top of the news. Syria claims U.S.-led coalition strike on ISIS chemical weapons depot has killed hundreds. Yes, of course they're going to claim that. The theater goes on. Everybody's playing their part. As you might have seen, the meeting between Tillerson and Lavrov and Putin, the surprise meeting with Putin that went on for a long time, came out just as I expected. A lot of animosity. The relationship hasn't been worse, and blah, blah, blah. That's all part of the game. That's all part of making sure that Trump isn't busted for any kind of collusion with Russia. But yes, the Trump administration was working with Russia to take out the bad guys all around the world, not just Hillary Clinton. That needs to be very clear that this is much bigger than our leaders. This is a takedown of bad guys all around the world. So yes, China and Russia and the U.S. are colluding together on this. So the news will be hard to swallow and digest unless you think about the bigger picture. All right. After brain teasing, Bill Gross says all asset prices are elevated to artificial levels. Bill Gross knows exactly what's going on the road to Roota. He's a smart guy. He's consulted with some of these bigger guys who are trying to destroy the system. He's doing his part. And yes, of course, all asset levels are elevated. They're not even elevated. They're on the roof. They're on the top of the roof. They're on the tower on top of the roof. But that's always been the plan. Blow the bubbles as big as possible to destroy the entire system. And then you can go back to an unbacked fiat system using things like gold or silver. Doubtful silver. It'll be too rare. You can't get your hands on any. There'll be a lot of gold and a little silver at the end of this game. And Bitcoin will, it's very clear to me that Bitcoin will have a part in this new monetary system, especially in China and probably in the U.S. I do believe that the Bitcoin was created by people within the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury for the transition to out of the old system and into the new system. Was Alan Greenspan the world's best computer programmer as far as financial assets involved in the invention of Bitcoin? I believe so. We came out a year after he got out of the Fed, so there's a lot of signs that point to Alan Greenspan being involved with Bitcoin. I don't know if he is Satoshi, but I do think that guy Darian Nakamoto is at least the guy whose name was put on that paper, but he didn't work alone on this. And I do think Alan Greenspan was heavily involved, if not Satoshi himself. So, you know, we'll find out. And I don't know if we'll find out, but Satoshi's Bitcoin, he owns 1 million Bitcoin, which would be perfect amount for the United States to start up if those 1 million Bitcoin are indeed owned by the people of the United States for this transition. We will find out, I believe. Goldaholics Anonymous. With the rising global political tensions, gold has gotten a bid over the past week. But is that what is driving the price? No. Read my lips, no. It's got nothing to do with global tensions. It has to do everything with a click of a mouse in the basement of the U.S. Treasury. If they want it to go up because they think everybody's thinking global tensions, oh, let's let it rise a little and then we'll slam it down when we get weak hands in. That's what they do. The amount of gold traded every day on these electronic markets dwarf anything that's out there in the physical side. So these are fake numbers from fake markets. Got it? Good. March producer prices disappoint. Drop most since August. Have you noticed the economic data is coming in worse and worse? And when Trump got elected, it was coming in better and better. They control everything that is released. So for them to be making this change is telling you, it's telegraphing to you that something shifted with this Syria thing and the whole double reverse false flag that I talked about. Something has shifted. And I do think we're into that part where we tear down the old system to build something new. And it's going to be really crazy and hectic and dangerous. Many people will die in this transition. There's nothing they can do about it. That's why they've held it off for so long. Just think of the just-in-time delivery system. Remember when like there's a earthquake or a big storm or a hurricane, everybody rushes to the store, grabs everything off the shelf within hours, and all of a sudden the shelves are bare. The just-in-time delivery system requires that these things keep moving. Everything keeps flowing around the world, and the globalization does not end. The minute that this economic crash hits, all the shelves will be bare at your local stores. Probably not even from monetary transactions, because those will be shut down because of the banks, so people will run in and loot and riot and things like that. So the chaos is coming. Just get ready for it. Wells just reported the worst mortgage numbers since the financial crisis. Again, on mortgages, if you don't have banks lending because the banks went bankrupt, the value of your house, the price of your house, will drop 90% overnight. It'll be worth the wood and the nails that it sits on. And you'll probably just abandon your house at some point anyway, depending on where you live and your neighbors. If you have good neighbors and you all get together and you can protect your neighborhood with guns and you have food and you have a way to get forward, then you'll probably stay and build a little community. There'll be a lot of little communities that are built, and there'll be a lot of communities that will absolutely be abandoned, especially in California where there's not as many guns. But we'll see what happens, right? North Korea's big and important event is a street opening. A lot of verbiage coming out of North Korea. This will continue. Again, it's the last stronghold of the bad guys, I believe, and I don't even think it's that strong of a stronghold. The most interesting stuff coming out of North Korea is that China said, if you continue on this path, we're gonna bomb you. And I think the North Koreans are more afraid of China than they are of the U.S. But if you have the U.S. military on the ocean side and China on the other side, North Korea is pretty stupid to do anything. And they might just take out Kim Jong-un if they think he's unstable, which they can do easily. I'm sure a couple generals back from him is a secret CIA plant that can just take him out with a poison banana or something. A poison banana. All right. Bill Bain, I can't figure out what is keeping stocks so buoyant. It is a computer in the basement of the Treasury that has been running the unbacked fiat monetary system since computers were invented. Electronic assets were invented in the 1960s and 70s by Alan Greenspan. He blamed himself for the Y2K problem, the 4 digits instead of 2. 100% control. That's the only reason the unbacked monetary system was able to go forward. Usually an unbacked system dies in 7 to 10 years because they print too much money and it implodes. Yes, the United States printed too much money and electronically created too much money, but they control the prices with computers, so there is no inflation, right? There's no inflation. There's been no inflation since 1913, the creation of the Fed. The dollar's devalued at such a slow pace that you can't see the inflation. You don't feel the inflation, but you wake up one day and it's 10 years later, and your horn of Z's, your sip of coffee, is costing you $10 at Starbucks. So yeah, there's inflation. Most of the inflation goes into the places that the monetary riggers like Steve Mnuchin want it to go, such as the stock market, and to support the U.S. dollar. But it's there, and that money needs to be wiped clean from the earth. So get ready for that. Another fun one coming. North Korea may be capable of Syrian-tipped missiles. Ooh, Japanese PM warns. Well, the bad guys within Japan want World War III. There's still bad guys in every country. They're still being routed out. That's a large part of this problem. Perception is changing on Trump, which is good. He is flipped on everything now, and all the alt media is all pissed off at him. But it's part of the plan. He's got to keep doing it, and all of a sudden, he's going to get more and more people on his side, and then he'll flip again. And then he'll fire everybody that he wants to fire, of his close confidants, including his son-in-law. And then he'll stock it with people who are good for America. And those people have already been chosen in the background. And they're just waiting to be put in the right place at the right time. JP Morgan beats as FICC revenues jump, offset by troubling spike in credit card charge-offs. While JP Morgan reported a generally strong quarter, beating on the top and bottom line and posting a 17% increase in FICC revenue, there were some concerning developments, most notably a continuing increase in the bank's credit card net charge-offs, which rose to the highest level since second quarter 2013. JP Morgan, well, we know they made, how much did silver go up this quarter? Maybe $2, which is $2 times 600 million ounces, $1.2 billion off silver. The game goes on, and JP Morgan has a get out of jail free card with all the regulators because they are an agent of the U.S. government, and they have claimed in court that they are an agent of the U.S. government in the Blanchard lawsuit against manipulation. It was JP Morgan and Barrick Gold. The defense of Barrick and JP Morgan was that they can't be sued because they are agents of the U.S. government. They are doing what they're doing because the U.S. government is telling them to do exactly what they do. All in a court case. Barrick Gold was wasn't even a gold company at the beginning, a gold mining company. It was a way to launder the Yamashita's gold, pretend that you're a mining company. Put people like Bush Sr. on the board and high up government officials, and then take all the Yamashita's gold and remelt it and call it gold that was mined by Barrick Mining. Incredibly, this is the bad guys. This is when the bad guys are in charge. Now, Barrick might be a gold miner. I don't know. I think they even put on a little gold or silver short based on one of their a hedging type of short based on one of their ownership properties. Any miner that hedges silver is either a bad guy working with the bad guys to justify these shorts, or an idiot. Again, I do not recommend buying any mining companies for various reasons. One, they'll be the first to be confiscated and nationalized, and all your neighbors will tell your government, you have to nationalize these mines. I don't care if a handful of rich people get more money. This is bigger than that. This is the whole world running out of money and having to use something else. So yes, every mine around the world will be nationalized. If you have a mining stock, also there's like multiple owners for the stock that you hold, even if you have it certificated. Yes, there are many multiple owners. The SEC data says every day over 300 million shares are not settled, meaning the transaction happens, but they're not put in anybody else's name. They're not transferred. The money is never cashed. It's all a musical chairs type of thing. Dole Pineapple buyout, or Dole Company buyout, was a great example recently where shareholders sued because there was a buyout. Shareholders sued because they didn't think they got enough money. The court agreed with the shareholders, and then they put an announcement out, turn in your information, your proof that you had shares, and then more shares came in than were ever created by the company. How does that happen? The judge says, I'm not even going to get into this. And he said, you brokerage houses have to figure it out because it's your problem. So if you have stock and shares in anything, good luck getting it, monetizing it. And when the banks go down, you won't have any access to it anyway. All right, moving on. So yes, get out of anything between you and your assets. If there's anything, if there's a bank, if there's a vault, if there's a third party, anything, it will most likely get washed away with the tsunami of implosion. Moving on, Fed is communicating a recession is imminent. We would be so lucky to have a recession. It's not going to be a recession. It's not going to be a depression. It will be a monetary implosion, whereas in the banks just freeze one day, and you go in to get your money, and it's gone. It's long gone. We all know the banks are fractionally reserved to the hilt. So for every $1 they lose in their overall portfolio, they're going to lose 10 because they leveraged it up. It's just the way the game goes. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to roota.com. Go to the top section. Go down all the free articles. There's so many free articles on that page, and I've talked about this for 17 years. It's all there. Go to the search function on roota.com. Just put in your question. If you want to learn about the DTCC, type in DTCC, and you'll find out how shares are rehypothecated and the criminality there. That's a fun one to research, with the flooding of the DTCC vault at 55 Water Street in New York when Hurricane Sandy came through. The month before that vault flooded, the CFTC put all the silver and gold swap contracts within that vault. And also 6 months before that, this guy named Michael Dunn, who was a CFTC commissioner, quit the CFTC and went to work for the DTCC, and he was put in charge of that vault. And so Hurricane Sandy comes in, somebody left the vault door open, flooded $33 trillion worth of documents, and it was underwater for a month. And when they pumped it out, they started a fire, and 28 people went to the hospital because there was a fire in this vault. Insanity has reigned in the things that go on behind the scenes. So yeah, that's our world, and we got to deal with it. Chinese exports surged most in 2 years, but Goldman warns it won't continue. There's no doubt in my mind that Trump and China are working together on this takedown of the bad guys, along with Putin. So China is like all of a sudden our friend after Trump met with him at what's it called? Bar-Lago? Not Bar-Lago. Key Largo? Anyway, the Miami, what is it, Florida White House? I don't know what they call it. But yeah, Trump spends a lot of time down there. I would too. I wouldn't want to be swamping around in Washington, D.C.'s incredible den of thieves and vipers. Yeah, stay away from Washington, D.C. S&P futures slide ahead of bank earnings. As you can tell, the weakness is starting to show up, and it's all done with computers. So the powers that be, Steve Mnuchin, who controls that computer, I don't think it's him that walks downstairs to the basement of the Treasury to click the mouse in the morning. A lot of this is pre-programmed out for a few months, sometimes a few years. So yeah, he's going to keep it going. So why is the U.S. Treasury deciding now's the time to make the markets look a little shaky? I don't know. You make the call on that one. One trader can't wait for this week to be over. A lot of traders shouldn't be able to wait for this year to be over. That's when the real trouble happens. Credit Suisse fear gauge nears record high. You notice all this bad news. All this bad news is coming down now. And if you control the news, remember the Larry Summers, our old criminal who worked for the government for a long time. He's part of the bad guys, one of the main bad guys, has invented, I think he invented the theory of behavioral economics at Harvard. And behavioral economics says that if you pretend the world's going to be great, pretend things are getting better, pretend you put out all those government statistics that show things are improving, then people will relax about the economy. They go out and spend. If you build it, they will come. But look what the Treasury is doing now. They're saying, the market's saying, there's bad things coming. There's bad things coming. Trump and his guys are saying, no, it's all Obama's fault. It's all Obama's fault. So what is this going to do? Behavioral economics works in the reverse as well. So if you say things are bad, people are not going to start spending, not going to buy those new houses, everybody thinking the housing market in a bubble is kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy, and people will stop buying, and then all of a sudden those people who bought 2 or 3 houses and were getting rich are scared to death, and they dump it on the markets. We're going to have the largest inventory of houses ever when the banks go down, because no one can buy a house without a bank loan unless you have $500,000 in cash sitting in your home vault. You're not going to be able to buy a house. You won't be able to get a loan. And what does that do to the value of the pricing of houses? I don't like saying value of houses. I'd rather say pricing of houses. Houses are a place to live, and they should have always been a place to live. And it all has to do with the availability of free money that the prices went up. Houses shouldn't be an investment. It's a depreciating asset. The wood falls apart, the roof needs to be changed the older the house is. So the concept of housing as an investment has 100% to do with the value of the dollar depreciating and the availability of free money to buy houses from the banks, and that's going away. All right, keep going. Trump flips on 5 core campaign promises in under 24 hours. This is a game. This is a game. Watch my last week worth of videos. This is all a game, and he is doing exactly what he needs to do to sucker everybody in and to change the narrative, and then the system will fall apart, and he'll appoint the people he always wanted to appoint in the right places. And he'll probably have the backing of all of the United States, not just half. More and more people are coming out to, oh, Trump, there's a difference between Trump, the campaigner, and Trump, the president. This mantra is just, you hear it and you laugh if you know what's going on behind the scenes. And I'm laughing. The alt-right media is beside themselves. Oh, he's such a traitor. They'll get over it when everything changes. But their yelling and screaming and gnashing of teeth is important for the full process to go through. And the full process would be the changing of the perception of Trump and of where we stand as far as war and where we stand with Russia. They need to drop the Trump Putin investigation, which will happen very soon. And then we can go on with things. And there are people to arrest, and there's a lot of the pedophilia guys that are going to be taken out. There's a lot from the Obama administration who did the wiretapping and spying that'll be taken out. So we're in for a really rocky road, exciting time coming up. Turkey to confiscate gold to help citizens earn money. Confiscation is going to happen in countries that are run by the bad guys. And it's not going to happen in the United States. There's 50 reasons I can give you why gold and silver confiscation won't happen, and even if it did, it wouldn't matter, because very few people have any gold or silver in the United States. The government wouldn't get anything out of it other than to point out that they're criminal and they're trying to take over, which I don't think they are. Just pick up a $100 bill, the new $100 bill, and look right above the 100. It says we reserve the right to overthrow our government, which I think we will be. That's 35 million people work directly or indirectly for the federal government right now, and it has to be culled. I like that word, culled. I would say below 1 million people need to work for the federal government. Everybody else needs to go out and get a job. Sorry. Korean sovereign risk spikes after Syrian airstrike. Yes, of course. But any movement in sovereign risk, all that stuff, it's all a game, and it's all controlled with the computers. Remember, they can put silver at $1 million an ounce tomorrow if Mnuchin decides, or he can put it at $0 an ounce. Which do you think he wants? Being from Goldman Sachs, being a computer market rigger, his job is to keep the system going. I would assume he's going to click his mouse at some point and put it to $0 an ounce and shut down the COMEX. Should be fine. As long as you have your money, your silver out of the system in your own hands, and you know that the price is rigged every day, you won't get upset. You should be more excited if he slams it down below $5 or below $10 or puts it to 0, because that means the game is over. Because everybody rushing in to buy silver is not going to find an ounce. And then they're going to have to shut down the LBMA and the COMEX, which is what they need to do anyway. So that would be a great sign. So just hang on to your silver. We got to wait this out, unfortunately. And it's been a long wait, I know. All right, last one. Lawmakers demand Trump pump brakes on military action in Yemen. As conflict swirls over the recent U.S. bombing in Syria, more than 50 bipartisan lawmakers have demanded President Donald Trump seek approval from Congress before expanding U.S. military action in another Middle East theater, Yemen. Absolutely. Now, did Trump break the law when he bombed the empty Syrian airbase? I don't think so. I think he got permission from Russia and permission from Syria to do that, and you could just call it a war exercise. I believe that's what happened behind the scenes. And it was really interesting that right before he bombed Syria, he met with Rand Paul in Florida, and he asked Rand Paul to come down because Rand Paul is pretty much the only guy in Congress that has been talking about the need to go to Congress if you're going to go to war. And I think he told Rand, hey, I got the approval from Syria to do this. You're in on it, but I need you to play your part. Keep saying that you need to go to Congress, even though every president for the last 50 years has not gone to Congress for authorization to go to war. But the world is changing, and Rand Paul is leading that charge. So I think now that they will, from now on, if they go to any kind of real war, Trump will go to Congress and seek approval. That is your news. That is your Horn of Z's for April 13th. This is Bix Weir. Again, if you're a private road member, submit your questions using the code, and you find the code on the private road section on the website. Go to roota.com. It's the second section down is the private road, where there's all kinds of articles and news and deep behind the scenes info. So if you're looking to join, get in now, and you can ask your questions that I got answered by tomorrow. So I got a lot of work to do today. You guys take care and hang in there.